You are listening to Mix 104.9's 360. Now we know family and community are this morning grappling with the loss of a much-loved man, the owner of the Nightcliff grocer, in what is a senseless act of violence. The 71-year-old was killed while working at the Nightcliff friendly grocer yesterday afternoon. Now, the Northern Territory Police have now apprehended an 18-year-old who had handed himself into the Palmerston Police Station and was taken into custody. Police have confirmed that alleged offender was on bail with conditions to remain in a remote Northern Territory community and did not have an electronic monitoring bracelet on as a condition of that bail. Now, joining me in the studio is the Chief Minister of the Northern Territory, Leah Finocchiaro. Good morning, Chief Minister.
Oh, good morning, Katie, and to your listeners and to every Territorian grieving today. It's an incredibly sad time.
Chief Minister, when did you first learn what had happened in Nightcliff and what was your reaction?
Yeah, it was late yesterday afternoon and obviously just gut-wrenching devastation, and to think that another person went to work yesterday and didn't come home, and another lost loved one, another lost member of our community, a much-loved, well-known, embedded part of the Territory community. And it was just absolutely devastating, Katie.
Chief Minister, have you spoken to the family?
Yes, I've been in contact with Ben, the son, and offered our sincerest and heartfelt condolences. I've, obviously expressed anything that we can do to support, to let us know. And obviously the family, they did mention the outpouring of love and support, and that they feel just really surrounded by that strength. And I thank Territorians for wrapping around, as Territorians do, in our greatest time of need. So, they need time to grieve and process the shock and horror of what has happened, but we stand with them in solidarity.
I mean, the fact that a 71-year-old man went to work in his place of business yesterday and is now not going to be going home to his wife, Margaret, of 51 years, his children, his 7 grandchildren, and I'll use Margaret's words here. She said this is so hurtful. An 18-year-old kid has done this in a dreadful moment of anger because he was confronted with theft. It's a level of violence that we as a territory, I think, have become way too accustomed to. Some of what we have dealt with in the last month alone is heartbreaking. I mean, I've spoken on this show on numerous occasions about the absolutely devastating situation that Trevor Miller, Palmerston resident, is in after allegedly being very seriously injured, lucky to be alive after 2 teenagers allegedly invaded his home. I mean, just yesterday I read out a press release from the Northern Territory Police in Katherine where a woman, a senior Territorian, had to hold people out of her home with a shovel. It's disgusting behaviour. And now to see that this grandfather is not going home, it's so heartbreaking on so many levels.
I think people today are thinking, how has this happened again? When is enough going to be enough? What needs to be done to address this? Why is there this level of extreme violence? And it's not okay. And I think every single Territorian has woken up today just knowing wholeheartedly how totally unacceptable this is, how no one deserves to live like this. And, Katie, I reinforced last night in my message to Territorians that I put out on Facebook that, we will do whatever it takes. We've done a lot. It's nowhere near enough. We've always said that. And straight after this interview, Katie, I'll be back at Parliament House with the Deputy Chief Minister and Attorney General in an urgent briefing around what can we do next, what levers can we pull immediately.
What levers do you think we can pull now, Chief Minister? Because, again, I will say the community's expectation is that this has to get sorted.
It does have to get sorted. It is just fundamental to everything. You can't have have a strong economy, you can't have a great lifestyle if law and order hangs over people's heads every single day. And so, you know, we're looking particularly around bail. Obviously, police made it known this morning that the person was on bail, so we're certainly looking at that. There's
Chief
limited
Minister,
detail, unfortunately.
My understanding, I will try my best to get this confirmed, but my understanding is that this person was on Supreme Court bail, which indicates to me that they have previously committed a serious offence.
Yeah, that's my understanding too, Katie. And so police are doing media at 10:30, I believe, and will be able to provide more detail.
So how on earth are we in a situation where somebody who has presumably, and I don't want to overstep the boundaries here, but
yeah, we're making a lot of
bail.
assumptions, but yes,
so
they're on bail.
how is it that somebody that's on bail can then be, how is it that somebody can be bailed without an electronic monitoring device to a community and then able to come back to Darwin and allegedly kill someone?
Yeah, great, fantastic question. I'm asking the same question myself, as is probably every single one of your listeners, nodding and frustrated at the car radio right now, Katie. It's a really challenging space, but we are absolutely determined. So we're in urgent talks around that this morning, turning our mind to a range of options, including, of course, removing detention as a last resort for youth offenders. So we need a bit more detail to be able to make sure that our response is targeted and going to hit the mark. But I will have more absolutely later today.
Some will be asking this morning if Declan's law and the changes that were implemented are working, if somebody has been able to be bailed in this way.
Yes, and that is a great question as well. Declan's law is certainly having a really good impact. Now, it's not a 100% strike rate system, as is no law, unfortunately. But we have seen really fantastic numbers of knives being taken out of circulation. We've seen those bail numbers reduce. So it is working. Again, I don't have enough detail to know what the situation of this offender was and whether Declan's law had any interaction with it. But there's always more you can do. I mean, you and I, Katie, have talked a lot about all of the reforms we've got.
Even on Monday, we're talking about it.
We did.
You know, just days ago, we're talking about it.
Exactly. So I'm looking at once I know more about the situation, I'm looking at what targeted response we can deploy immediately. Today, though, you will see high visibility policing. I want absolute reassurance, particularly for retail workers, that they are safe. Police did a great job last night. They mobilised every available officer, dog, you name it, to find the alleged offender, and so that person is now in custody. But there's a lot more work to do, and police will update the community at 10:30. Chief
Minister, I know you are pressed for time and you've got to get to a meeting, but I want to ask you, I mean, last night I had people say to me the government needs to double down, that legislation has to change so that no one who commits a violent offence can be bailed, and people need to be held to account for offending. On the other hand, I had a person say to me the government's approach is not working, and Nightcliff has been on a downward spiral for months with bad behaviour experienced regularly. I mean, the reality here is you've got some in the community, I would say the majority, really wanting you to double down and stop this entirely. You've got others who think you've got the wrong approach. Which approach are you going to take?
Oh, we'll be taking double down, Katie. Don't you worry about that. And stopping bail is exactly what is front of my mind to look at. So we're just working through that right now. It is just a tragedy. And I have to say, Katie, and I think your listeners will appreciate this, you know, one of the, amongst thinking and being so concerned for the welfare of the family, you know, I thought immediately of Samara Laverty as well. And so I called her last night, who, you know, she's reliving this. You know, I spoke to obviously the local member out there at Nightcliff as well. And the number of people and the impact this has on an entire community. It's not just the grieving widow or the children or the grandchildren and the customers, and it's the entire community feels this, and I express that to the family, that we stand with them in their grief, and we're here to wrap arms around each other as a community and say, we will not tolerate this. We will not let our territory be taken down by terrorists. You know, really, this is a terrorisation of people that is we've just at unprecedented levels.
Is that what you think it is at the moment? Do you feel as though we are under attack?
Yeah, we are. We absolutely are. I mean, people are quite literally under attack every single day. People are making decisions about how they move about, how they live their life. I mean, we talked on Monday, Katie, about people in Katherine going to the shop at 7 a.m. to avoid any kerfuffle later on in the day, you know. I mean, this is having a huge impact. It's why, you know, within 6 weeks of government, we'd passed all of those laws. We continue to go back to the Parliament, strengthen, listen to police, support them. And it's nowhere near enough. You know, it is nowhere near enough, and we've always said that this is just the beginning, and I'm hoping today to have a very strong announcement for the community.
Well, Chief Minister, I think it is, it's safe to say that the community is really sad and upset.
Very.
But that sadness could very quickly turn to anger if the government does not stand up and really, try to make some change
action
in this place and take that action. Now, just before I let you go, I mean, what is your message this morning to Territorians who I'm really worried that we're on the verge of people getting really angry?
Yeah, people will be very angry today. They will be frustrated. They will be sad. They'll be confused. A whole range of emotions, and people will feel those emotions all differently across the whole day. And so it's important to stand together as a community in solidarity against this. We all deserve to be safe. We deserve to have freedom of movement. We deserve to make the decisions we want for our lives and for our kids and for our future. We deserve to see our loved ones come home every night. And that is front and centre of our minds. We will provide a bigger update today about the strong action we'll take in response to this and the further work that will continue. But I just ask everyone to take care of each other and, make sure you keep the family in your thoughts and prayers today.
Chief Minister, I really appreciate your time. I know you need to urgently get to a meeting. Thank you very much.
Take care, everyone.
You are listening to Mix 1049's 360. Now, we know the community is devastated. The community is reeling following the death of a much-loved 71-year-old man overnight. Linford Feick, the owner of the nightcliff-friendly grocer, was allegedly killed inside his business. Joining me in the studio is the Northern Territory Assistant Commissioner of Police, Travis Wurst. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Katie. Good morning to your listeners.
Assistant Commissioner, can you talk me through what unfolded last night in terms of the apprehension of this 18-year-old offender?
Of course. So just prior to 5:30 yesterday afternoon, police received a call regarding an incident that occurred at the Five Star Supermarket in the Nightcliff shopping precinct. Police and St John's responded almost immediately to that. They came across a person who'd sustained an injury to their upper chest. When they arrived, there were bystanders who were present at the time were providing good critical care to that particular person, but unfortunately, despite that care, he passed away at the scene. The person who was involved in the altercation, he left the area after inflicting an injury upon that male. He left the area on a push bike and was not able to be located by police immediately. Northern Territory Police then moved into a search phase. We rolled out multiple specialist resources as well as frontline staff and scoured the community for this particular person. We identified him through some good work by the Trident team around a potential identity, spoke with family. Through the engagement with family, that person just after midnight this morning, so at about 12:35, he attended the Palmerston Police Station and handed himself in. He was subsequently arrested for that particular incident and he is currently still in police custody at Palmerston Police Station. He's yet to be charged with any offending.
Assistant Commissioner, if I'm to read between the lines there, the fact that Strikeforce Trident had a fair idea of who this person was indicates to me that this person was known to the police.
So this person that's currently in police custody is an 18-year-old male, and we can confirm that he's currently on bail, that is Supreme Court bail. He appeared in court on the 17th of April and was bailed to reside in a remote Indigenous top-end community.
Are you able to say which community that was?
I won't say it at this stage. He was not wearing electronic monitoring bracelet because of the location of that particular community, and we are trying to determine what his movements were after that date. Mm-hmm. He's 18 years of age, but he only turned 18 3 days ago. So he's only just turned 18.
So he's literally just turned 18
Correct.
years old.
Yes.
Again, if I'm to read between the lines, being on Supreme Court bail would indicate that this just turned 18-year-old has been involved in quite serious prior offending.
He's on bail for serious offences, yes, but I'm not able to provide that information to your listeners at this stage, other than to say that the offending was serious enough that it went to the Supreme Court as a young person.
Now, just in terms of the comment that you'd made about not being able to wear an electronic monitoring bracelet, is that because you're not actually able, like they can't get coverage or whatever is required in that remote community?
You need good coverage in remote communities to be able to, any community for that matter, to have effective electronic monitoring. And some of the remote communities across the Northern Territory are not able to be utilised in that way.
Yeah. All right. Assistant Commissioner, what are the next steps from a police perspective now? We know this person's been arrested, not yet charged. What are the next steps from your perspective in terms of laying those charges but also pulling together a case to make sure, that this person faces the full consequence of the law?
So Northern Territory Police attended the location of the incident almost immediately after we had been notified. As soon as we realised that it was a very serious incident where someone had passed away, we enact our crime team. So Major Crime have carriage of this matter. We have a full governance structure in place. We have collected a significant amount of evidence already in relation to eyewitnesses, CCTV. What we're doing now is a crime still is still in place. We have our specialist forensics teams doing the work that they need to do at that location this morning, and into probably this afternoon a post-mortem examination by our Northern Territory forensic pathologist is going to occur at some stage today, as we understand. And once all of that evidence is collected, then we'll make a determination in conjunction with the Director of Public Prosecutions about what is the appropriate charge to lay in relation to this person. The male that's in custody will remain in custody until such a time as that charge is laid.
Assistant Commissioner, what's the plan for today in terms of really reassuring the community that that people are safe, reassuring people that work in shops that are so often confronted with people that do allegedly steal from them, and their reaction is to say, hey, stop what you're doing. Nobody expects that they're going to be on the receiving end of what happened overnight or late yesterday.
Of course, and we understand that. We have done a lot of proactive policing in and around the Greater Darwin area, including in the Nightcliff area. But today specifically, an operation will be run to provide that community reassurance to the community more broadly, but also shopkeepers, those that use the public transport network. Police will be visible, as they always are, but today specifically, again, as I said, to provide that reassurance, because we know that events such as this, any death that is unnecessary has an impact on our community, but this person obviously has been a stalwart of that particular Nightcliff community for a long time. We know that, and this will be causing some angst for our community. We know that as well. So it's our job now to provide that reassurance through that public exposure, to see the uniform, and to engage with our community and make sure that anyone who's choosing not to obey the laws, i.e. carry an edged weapon or behave in a manner that is not acceptable to the public, that we're able to curb that behaviour as best we can. Police cannot be everywhere at all times.
No.
I do know that there's a police station in Nightcliff, and I know that there is narrative around why police weren't at that location at that time. Police can't be everywhere. And the way in which this incident transpired is such that police could have been standing out the front of that shop, and it may not have prevented this unnecessary death from occurring just because of the way it transpired. Police attended very quickly. The police that are operating from the Nightcliff Police Station currently are the Territory Safety Division, and they provide public order support, and they're also providing support into our watch houses at the moment. So the staff that were from that station were out and about, and they weren't necessarily sitting out the front of that particular supermarket.
Assistant Commissioner, what do you say to people that feel that Nightcliff Police Station is a white elephant, that that it's not working?
Look, I'm aware of that narrative, and it's a location that was non-operational at a point in time. It's now has an operational presence operating from it. That presence is not 24/7, but with the current resourcing capability that we have across the Greater Darwin area, we have as much operational policing operating from that location as we can at this point in time. That being said, we still have operational 24/7 police stations in Darwin, Casuarina and Palmerston and Humpty Doo. So we do have 24/7 policing coverage across the Greater Darwin area.
Assistant Commissioner, I want to ask, I mean, are you as frustrated as the community is right now, or as I don't even know what the right word is for it, but by the fact that this 18-year-old, well, he's just turned 18 days ago, is on bail for serious offences and able to, to commit a crime like this?
The reasons behind his conduct were yet to be determined, and obviously our investigation in that regard is ongoing. But generally, the behaviour of some of the people that travel from remote communities into the Greater Darwin area is deplorable. It's not acceptable. The community has every right to feel safe, and at times that safety gets compromised by the behaviours of these people, whether they're adults or youth. It doesn't really matter in this regard. We ask the community, particularly from a community leadership point of view, to reach in and provide some guidance to young people who have no respect for themselves, for the community, for their own people and culture. And we just ask that everyone work together to be able to understand what issues might be in place and then seek help when required. This was a young person that clearly was a troubled individual. All of his background I'm not entirely sure, but his behaviour has led to the unnecessary death of an individual, and now that young person's potentially going to be in custody for a long, long time. So we've lost 2 lives effectively, as well as the heartache and pain that's going to be caused to the direct family and the broader community.
This is the thing. It is just it's absolutely terrible on so many levels. I want to ask you, in terms of those witnesses, in terms of the police, the first responders who were there on the scene yesterday, in the discussions that you've had when you observe and when you now look back at what they did and the way in which they responded, it sounds as though in some cases it's nothing short of heroic.
It absolutely is. So the men and women that wear the uniform, that are there 24/7 every day across the territory, are doing exemplary things every minute of every day. Sometimes things still happen and we can't be everywhere, as I said, indicated earlier. But the response from the members of the public who provided that initial critical care, those individuals, some of them had actual medical training, they still weren't able to save this person's life. What we did do this morning, I've already had a conversation with our team, and we've already put a welfare component in place to make sure we support our people, because you cannot continually see trauma to the extent that we see it in the Northern Territory without having an impact on our frontline and all our specialist staff as well. So we're very mindful of that. We're mindful of the calls that are received into our desk and the impact that has. The people providing the leadership in the desk, I reached out to that individual last night because last night was a particularly difficult shift. We had lots of tragedy across the territory. And that has an impact on our people. And it's not when you're at work, but it's when you're at home and with your families. So from an internal point of view, it's really quite difficult. And the level of trauma that we're seeing in the territory is high. It's always been high, but it has that impact longer term. And we've got to be very mindful of that as an agency. Look,
I will ask you about that crash in just a moment, that terrible crash. The Chief Minister was in the studio a few moments ago. She described some of the actions that we are seeing as feeling like we are under attack by terrorists.
Look, they're the Chief Minister's words. We know that we've got some significant social issues that we are combating at the moment. Some of them are as a consequence of trauma that people have been exposed to. Some of the behaviour is alcohol or drug related. Some of it may be mental health related. There are so many causal factors to what's occurring at the moment across the territory that our job is to understand what those factors are and then put measures in place with all of our partner agencies to make sure that we can do our best to ensure that community safety. And at times we have a tragedy that then triggers action. We need to get to a point where we're actually in front of this as best we can, because we don't need these tragedies occurring.
No.
This is deplorable. I feel for the family. I feel for the community, and police will continue to do what we do, and we'll do it well and as best we can. But it's more than just a policing issue here.
Assistant Commissioner, as you touched on, it's not the only tragedy from last night. Unfortunately, 2 people lost their lives on our road as well.
Yeah, look, unfortunately, just prior to 8 p.m. last night, police received a call of a serious crash on the Stewart Highway between Bachelor and Acacia Hills. The crash site was confirmed to be 1 kilometre north of Chinna Road. As a consequence of that crash, a 25-year-old female who was travelling southbound passed away. That person is believed to be an NT resident, and a 35-year-old male in the other vehicle was travelling northbound. Whether that person's an NT resident or not, we're yet to determine.
Okay.
But he also lost his life. There were no other passengers in the vehicle. And as soon as the crash was reported, police from Palmerston and Adelaide River attended. The road closures were put in place and Major Crash attended. Major Crash remained on site all night, and the scene was cleared just after 6 a.m. this morning when the road was open.
Okay.
I've just had a conversation with our officer in charge of our Major Crash unit, and the team are still working through causes of that crash. It's too early to say whether speed or inattention were factors, or alcohol for that matter.
All right.
But the tragedy is that we've had 2 people lose their lives on our roads. We had such a positive Easter weekend experience on our roads. We're lots of police presence, but obviously people behaved and adhered to the road rules and traffic laws, and we didn't lose a life. We have a long weekend this weekend. We have another coming up. We implore people, don't just assume because you think police are going to be on the road you behave. You behave anyway. Our media manager was driving in. He lives in the rural area this morning. We both met in the office very early, and he was overtaken by a car doing well in excess of 130 kilometres an hour this morning. So people just have a disregard for the road rules, their own safety and other road users.
Yep.
And that sort of behaviour is what leads to these crashes, particularly on unlit high-speed rural roads, where we know rural areas are a significant black spot for the Northern Territory community. We have a lot of crashes in the rural areas and regional remote areas as well. So over 2 long weekends coming up, please obey the road rules, understand the Fatal 5, have your seatbelt on, do not be drug or alcohol affected when you drive, do not speed, and do not be distracted. If you do those things, then your likelihood of survival on our roads is really high. But if you don't, then you may not, and we do not want that to be the case.
No, absolutely.
We're now at 8 deaths on our roads in the Northern Territory for 2025.
Well, Assistant Commissioner Travis Wurst, really appreciate your time this morning. Thank you very much for joining us, and no doubt going to be a busy day for everybody involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate.